Video game movies are running rampant in cinemas the last couple of years, most likely due to the success of the Sonic franchise, which is gearing up to release its fourth movie in the next while. Along with that, we're awaiting the live-action Legend of Zelda movie too. But another franchise which people seem to be a little mixed on is... Not that one. It's the new animated Illumination Mario movie franchise. The first movie had a lot of mixed reviews, which when I saw that movie in the theater, I remember having a good time with it. Yeah, it's a little fast paced, not leaving much room for a story. Yeah, the soundtrack of licensed songs overall don't really fit the vibe of the movie at all. Yeah, the movie is basically cameo slop, but I don't think it's some abomination or death to cinema or anything like that. I have such a hatred for Illumination generally, but I did have to admit that the first Mario movie, visually, for its animation, looked great. I think it's the most effort Illumination has put into their animation, and all of this stuff clearly paid off, as we now finally have the sequel to it. The Super Mario Galaxy movie is an animated adventure movie directed by Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic. It stars Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Anya Taylor-Joy, Jack Black, Donald Glover, and many more. The plot follows the events after the first movie, having thwarted Bowser's previous plot to marry Princess Peach. Mario and Luigi now face a fresh threat in Bowser Jr., who is determined to liberate his father from captivity and restore the family legacy. Alongside companions new and old, the brothers travel across the stars to stop the young heir's crusade. With the announcement of this movie being a Mario Galaxy movie, of course I was insanely excited to check this out, as that game and its sequel was one of my favorite Mario entries growing up. Sure, part of my brain was nervous to see how they'd handle the material, but I was still excited nonetheless. So with all that being said, I want to talk about it. First, I'm going to start by talking about the performances, leading with Chris Pratt, who's known for his roles in movies like Jurassic World and Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, when the first Mario movie came out, there was major reactions about the casting of Chris Pratt, as people were worried that he would just sound like himself in the movie, but what actually happened?
It's a Mario.
He sounds like himself. Of course he did. Like, these movies are a paycheck to him. In the first movie, he exaggerates his voice slightly and adds a Brooklyn accent to it to give it a bit of distinction. But here he really drops the ball a bit. The accent is obviously still there, slightly, but he's really phoning it in a lot more than he did in the first movie. Mario, as the titular character, is so fucking uninteresting in this movie as a protagonist. Pratt tries to give him some endearing, awkward charm to the character, but he's written to be without flaws that it's so hard to care about his character. Charlie Day provides the voice of Luigi in this again. He's known for roles in movies like Pacific Rim and Monsters University. I still think Day is a good choice for Luigi for this franchise. He does a great job at projecting his voice to sound cowardice when the situation calls for Luigi being scared, but it doesn't overdo it to the point where it becomes grating to listen to. There are times where it is just his voice with a vague Italian accent underneath it, which sounds as close to the character as it could sound. I won't talk about how I feel about his characterization at this moment in time, as this is more so down to performance. So like I said, I think he's done a solid job at it so far. Give him his spin-off Luigi Mansion movie ASAP. Anya Taylor-Joy reprises her role as Princess Peach in this. She's known for her roles in movies like Split and The Menu. Since the first Mario movie, Joy had decided to also just use her normal voice for this, not the usual high-pitched voice of Peach that we're usually used to, which I don't think is too bad of a change here. She's good at conveying her voice through a sense of determination when the scenes call for it, while also doing a good job at sounding worried during scenes to have other characters or herself in peril. She's a very headstrong character in this movie, similar to how she was in the first movie, which is nice to see done here. Jack Black reprises his role as Bowser in this movie. He's known for having roles in movies like the Minecraft movie and School of Rock. Shockingly, Jack Black has a lot less to do in this movie. In the first half of the movie, Bowser is tiny as a result of the endings of the last movie, so there's this voice effect over his voice acting which makes him sound tiny, but when he grows back to normal, he just delivers the same performance as he did in the first movie. I was shocked to see they didn't give him a song to sing in this one, considering how popular that Peaches song got from the first movie and how they tried to replicate that with the Minecraft movie. Do y'all remember that? There are brief moments where he has to try and be threatening, to which he lowers his voice registry to sound a little more menacing, which he pulls off as decently as he can. It's definitely an odd interpretation of the character, especially this time around. Jack Black gives the character a sort of laid back attitude, which is weird to see at times, but I suppose mainly it's just natural for him. Keegan-Michael Key reprises his role as Toad in this movie. He's known for his roles in movies like Toy Story 4 and Wonka. Key is fine as Toad. All he's really doing is projecting his regular voice to sound into a higher registry, not to the extent of sounding like a Toad, but just enough to where it doesn't get too annoying. He's meant to be the comedic relief in this movie, but nothing Toad is given to do is remotely too funny this time around. Especially, it probably doesn't help that he isn't given much to do in this movie, which was unfortunate to see. Donald Glover is a newcomer to the cast as he provides the voice of Yoshi in this movie. He's known for having roles in movies like The Martian and The To-Do List. I was honestly pretty impressed hearing him throughout this movie. Like, the way he's able to strain his voice to sound like Yoshi was surprising to say the least. His impression of the character is almost so good it begs the question as to why they just didn't hire a voice actor to voice the role, but it's fine. It's also surprising they don't do what they could have done and make the obvious joke of having Donald Glover do the Yoshi voice the whole movie, have him say a full sentence in English, then have the characters react, and then have him immediately switch back to sounding like Yoshi. But I'm happy to say they actually don't do that here, at least. Benny Safdie is another newcomer to the cast as he provides the role of Bowser Jr. He's known for his roles in movies like Oppenheimer and Good Time. I thought he did okay in the role. It's definitely a bizarre choice to get him in the role, but he's fine as he tries as much as he can to sound like a child, as he's able to give off this bratty aura that Bowser Jr. is known for, but there isn't really all that much else to it. Brie Larson is in this movie too, as she provides the voice for Rosalina in this movie. She's known for her roles in movies like Room and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She was fine in the role. It's definitely a little different from the roles she's had in the past, as she has to tackle sounding very soft-spoken throughout the movie, unless being faced with confrontation, to which she then projects her voice to sound pretty stern in situations, which was pretty well done. As many people saw a couple of days before the movie's release, another newcomer was revealed, which was Glen Powell, as he provides the role for Fox McCloud from the Star Fox franchise, because they put him in this movie for some reason. Powell is known for his roles in movies like Top Gun Maverick and Twisters. Before anyone complains, it isn't a spoiler saying he's in this, as Illumination decided to put his reveal out pretty close in the movie's release. What did I think of Powell's voice acting? He did an alright job. He sounds about as close to Fox as you could probably get when casting a famous person in the role. He gives off this sarcastic nature throughout his screen time, which seems to be a characteristic of Fox, and he adds a bit of his usual charm that he's known for. I thought the performance was inoffensive. I just don't fully understand why the character is in this movie. After that long-winded segment, I can now finally talk about the actual plot of this movie. Straight off the bat, if you're coming into this thing expecting a Mario Galaxy movie, this isn't exactly that. Yes, there's a big emphasis on space and galaxy stuff, but there's an abundance of so many other games that are thrown into this too. The movie starts out promising enough, as we're shown Rosalina and the Lumas in the observatory as she's about to read the Lumas a story. Bowser Jr. comes in with this boss that you recognize from the Galaxy games, right? You recognize this, don't you guys? It deviates a little bit as Rosalina gets captured, because it's a Mario movie, guys. A princess has to get captured one way or another. Eventually, we get to the Starbits Festival, which is recontextualized as Princess Peach's birthday party, and I think for the most part this scene is adapted pretty well. It even includes the flying saucer in this scene. However, for some reason they draw such massive attention to the flying saucer. Like, it's basically the villain's main mode of transport in this movie, which as far as I remember is literally only shown in the opening of the Mario Galaxy game. A lot of this I'm gonna talk about is gonna sound pretty nitpicky, but I need to drag out the video some way. A scene I thought was slightly endearing was near the beginning, where the Mario Bros had to take care of the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's done in a montage which feels like speedrunning through an entire Mario game, as you get glimpses of the Mushroom World, a Cloud World, a jungle, and a place where Goombas are giant, which I didn't fully understand why this is put so early on in the movie, as this is a galaxy that you come across in the games. But at this point in the movie, the Mario Brothers haven't traveled to space yet, so I thought that was a little bit strange that they're changing all of the lore around. The way Bowser is portrayed in this movie, it's not complete butchering of the character, but it's just really eye-rolling, as since he's small, he obviously wants to be big again, which means you have kind of quick but drawn-out scenes of Bowser tagging along with the heroes, pretending that he's a good guy, and I'm sitting in the theater thinking, alright, how long are we gonna pretend that he's a good guy? Let's be real. Thankfully, it doesn't take too long for him to be bad again, as we follow the characters to the Bee Galaxy, which blazes through it, obviously. What I thought was weird, though, is that they showed the bees to be prisoners in shackles mining on the ground, and they have an accent which reminded me of something anyway. If you're primarily a Galaxy fan, this movie is a massive cock tease, as there are scenes where the characters intentionally go by galaxies, just completely fly by them. That would be pretty fun to have actual scenes in. For some reason, they more so focus on parts of Odyssey. They have a little bit of Sunshine and Mario 64 stuff in this too. I'm still waiting for them to go through Peyton's though. It was pretty disappointing to see Rosalina have less screen time than fucking Star Fox. Like in the third act, he's practically a main side character. Another scene which was pretty useless was a scene where all the characters turn into babies, because this is a movie for babies. Although I'm proud for Illumination for not having any piss or shit humor with them turning into babies. The whole scene kind of acts like jingling keys, and if you wrote it out of the film, it really wouldn't make a difference whatsoever. There's a whole bunch of cameos in this movie which the studio insisted on spoiling before the movie came out, which is slightly disappointing to see, as there's less consideration for telling a story in this movie, and it more so cares about selling a product, just like every other Illumination movie. It's definitely a step down from the first movie. It has the same issue of the first movie where it goes by a mile a minute, yet somehow when it comes to humor, this one feels pretty awkward in a few places where the pacing is very stilted, as if they're begging the audience to laugh, which was honestly embarrassing to see. In case you're curious, of course they tease the promise of a third movie coming, whether that'll be a Smash Brothers movie or whatever the fuck they can shove into the next movie, because these movies just keep making money. We'll probably be getting a lot of these for a good few more years. Since this is an animated movie, I feel like I want to talk about the actual animation of this, as I can't really do my usual thing of talking about other filmmaking aspects, as animated movies operate a little differently. The animation here looks great. Illumination have got to be putting their workers into overtime to make these things look good. If you look at other newer Illumination movies in comparison, there is nowhere near enough effort put into those. It's very colorful and vibrant in a bit of an oversaturated way that'll probably keep kids entertained for how in your face it is, but I really loved looking at how all the space stuff looked. There are times where it feels like the games do look a little better, especially in terms of scale, but it was definitely nice seeing some of the planets and spacescapes on the big screen. Next, I want to talk about the music in this movie. The original score was composed by Brian Tyler, who's done music for movies like Ready or Not and the Now You See Me movies. Similarly to the first movie, I really enjoyed the score for this movie. Tyler has such a way of making these songs that are already gorgeously composed tracks into having them sound pretty good as new interpretations, sometimes even combining a few separate tracks into a single melody, which at times gave me goosebumps. Hearing some of the Galaxy songs were so enjoyable to hear in this movie. The orchestration of them to sound cinematic is really well done. I think for these movies, it's one of the biggest highlights for sure. With all that being said, I guess I was a little disappointed in this movie. Then again, if I rewatched the first movie, I probably wouldn't like it nearly as much as I did when I first saw it in theaters. I've only seen that movie once when it came out, but I'll see what happens when I revisit it, as I know that movie has its share of problems in terms of favoring fanfare over a compelling story and character arcs. And the annoying thing is, Nintendo fanboys don't see a problem in this. Some arguments they say is, well, it's a kids movie, did you expect it to be good? Do you know how many family films have made a point of being enjoyable for all ages? It shouldn't be excused here just because it's a Mario movie. Hell, the 90s Mario movie did a better job at balancing story and references, and the story in that movie isn't even all that great to begin with. I'm giving the Super Mario Galaxy movie 3 stars. The voice acting from everyone involved is fine and does the job as much as they're able to with the material everyone is given. Some people, more than others, are really phoning it in even more this time around, and it's clear that they're mainly just after a paycheck. It looks beautiful though, visually. Seeing this in a cinema is a pretty good experience for how good looking it looks from start to finish, for its colors especially. I think if you're a fan of the games, there's definitely a lot to ogle at with the amount of references and cameos that they shove down your throat, but I feel like if you really look past that and acknowledge that this maybe isn't as good as it could be, you know, that being said, it is inoffensive all the way through, as it's a kids movie after all. I can only complain so much as the screenplay, while I forgot to mention, also isn't the strongest, especially when it comes to the dialogue, but once again, it's a kids movie. Still, family movies deserves a little bit more effort than just a 90-minute ad, but if you're gonna be an obvious ad, at least have a good story like a certain film famously did. If you're still interested in checking this out, it's currently running in theaters, so I would say, just like every other movie, that despite all the criticisms I've said, this deserves to be seen on the big screen.
Luigi, I just want to touch you all over your manly chest. Want to bury my face in your breast. Luigi, you're so freaking sexy. And you've got me in a trance, so Bowser doesn't stand a chance. Go save the day.